You're listening to the Unemployed Bartender Podcast with your host, Keith Carter.
They've already clicked off of the show.
You know, I haven't listened to many podcasts.
This is riveting for your listeners. You do realize this, right?
Yeah, I don't know. What else do you want to talk about?
Do you put like little outtakes in the intro of your podcast?
All of this can be cut out because it's pretty much just a podcast. New episodes every Friday. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the UB Podcast. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Unemployed Bartender Podcast with Keith Carter. I'm Keith Carter. And today I'd like to welcome a very incredible bartender and co-founder of Speed Rack. And if you don't know what that is, you'll find out soon enough. Lynnette Marrero, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you for a multitude of reasons. I'm familiar with Speed Rack, and I know a lot of the listeners to my show and the wonderful things you guys are doing in honor of Women's History Month. We're going to find out all about it here in just a second, but really excited to have you on. Tell me everything about you. I like to get to know people first before I ask them all the things.
Sure. I am a New York City born Nuyorican.
Right.
So
Met a couple of you guys
you
up
got
here.
Brooklyn in back then.
Brooklyn?
Exactly. It was a big landing place for a lot of people from Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
My parents were part of that journey. So I was born into a sisterhood. I'm one of four girls, Jeanette, Annette, Lynette, and Antoinette. So when you look at things like Speed Rack and how I've surrounded myself in this industry, I'm not really surprised because I feel like I was just born into it.
Yeah.
So I thank my parents in general for that. I currently am the bar director of Brooklyn's Llama Inn and Llama Sun in Manhattan. So those are some of the things that I do on premise. I am on the Tales of the Cocktail Education Committee. I'm actually the chair of the business committee. So we have seminars coming up. Our submissions are due on Monday,
Yeah, the 15th.
So super
Yeah, I
soon.
saw
So if you have
that.
ideas, buckle in this weekend and write
I
them
got
down.
that email. I was like, I don't know.
I'm really excited. We added some new members to the team. But this month has been all about education. I started at the Flatiron Lounge in New York under Julie Reiner. So like I have a really strong, Ivy and I, my partner in Speed Rack, she and I both share, Julie is someone who's been a mentor in the industry to us. And we started Speed Rack almost 10 years ago. The idea was born 10 years ago in February at the Super Bowl at a bar in Brooklyn is where we gave birth to the Speed Rack concept and then put the first event up in June.
Well, congratulations on 10 years. Right at 10 years of conception. So it's a happy birthday to Speed Rack, we'll say. We both said just Speed Rack in shorthand with no
Yes.
identifying nomenclature to accompany it. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about what Speed Rack is and what you guys are doing to kind of help things out in this pandemic world?
Sure. So Speed Rack, like I said, was started about 10 years ago. My partner, Ivy Mix, who runs and owns Leyenda in Brooklyn, she had got to New York and was looking for opportunities to get behind the stick. Had a hard time doing it. At the time, I was running a women's group who were doing charitable events, popping up in bars, taking over, called LUPEC, Ladies United for the Preservation of Endangered Cocktails, and I ran the New York chapter. And we just kind of were thinking about what we do as craft bartenders, which is work really hard to make a lot of really good drinks. And when Friday and Saturday rolls around, you really can test the mettle of a good bartender if they can handle 4 seats at the end of the bar plus service bar.
Mhm.
And so we built a competition based on that. But what we wanted to do was highlight all the incredible women that we saw. We started in New York. Doing this every night, every weekend, who we just felt weren't getting enough of a platform. Or if they were in a platform in competitions, they weren't the woman. And that's a lot of pressure on anyone. So we created Speed Rack. And that event is kind of like Chopped meets roller derby competition. It's fun. It's crazy. You go in and it's a kind of music festival style event on the floor. There's a stage. That's where the competition's happening. And we built it on that idea that you're working service bar and 4 cocktail luminaries walk in and you have to make the 4 best drinks of your life while also getting back to cranking out. And It started as a cocktail competition, really just to highlight the women in the industry, and we brought it on tour. It's now expanded to 7 countries. We have done it in, and it's more of now a platform for and a resource for women in hospitality and in the bartending industry. And it's been crazy to see, how many former speed rackers have taken the platform and run and used it to really be in wonderful positions in this industry. But I think we were just about giving access and spreading what we both felt we had in New York a bit too, which was access and resource to people like Dale DeGraff and Julie Reiner and Audrey Saunders. We had
Yeah.
those people coming into our bar, but as we brought the competition across the country, not everyone had that opportunity for that kind of feedback. And it's been a crazy ride. We've raised over $1 million for breast cancer research and education globally. We've built, a community of women bartenders. And it's been really wonderful to see, even during this time, that the community exists and has a lot going. We are hospitality in general is such a strong community, and then when you look at the different like sub communities within, it's just beautiful to see how much they have relied on each other and have lifted each other up.
Yeah, there's one thing that you can't mistake about hospitality. It's one family, and it's a
Hmm.
multitude of it. It's very representative of kind of how New York is, obviously the biggest city, but it's a bunch of tiny neighborhoods with of
100%.
interconnected, really strong, tight-knit groups that all meld together into this wonderful city that we call home. And it's kind of the same thing, I think. But you mentioned something earlier about the access to the spotlight, and that's the undeniable fact that has existed throughout time, is that talent can't shine unless there's light shown upon it. And then
100%.
when you shine light upon talent, it is almost always discovered because talent shines through. These are all a bunch of light metaphors that I just come up with right now, but it's really great to see because I think there can be a lot of negative stereotypes associated with within the
Yeah.
hospitality industry, but especially for women within the hospitality
Hmm.
industry. And there's just some of the best, if not probably all of the best bartenders I know are women in the cocktail realm, or that I look to for education or for mentorship. And I think it's important to highlight that so people can realize that, there's a lot of really, really wonderful people doing a lot of really wonderful things, and a lot of them are women.
I mean, I love celebrating them and, seeing just how, incredibly, I think we kind of even saw it like this year in politics, when you really saw who were leading grassroots efforts, it was women.
Hmm.
And that is something that you kind of see. And I don't know if it's like the nature of how communities are built, but I've really been very proud to see, all femme identifying individuals really bringing that this year and making an impact in community, because this is a time when that is going to make the biggest difference. Like we kind of had
Yeah.
to think so locally in a lot of ways on how to just survive. And but I love that I saw it with a kindness and with a group effort as opposed to a it's mine. And I think that's kind of one of the things that I think competitions by nature are like it's me versus you. And we had a in one of our women's history events last night with Mary Palick from San Jose, who's one of our speed rack champs and has been just kind of someone I've really watched her career blossom. And she talked a bit about this community concept and that, like, if everyone's problems need to be one person's problem need to be everyone's problem, and that's how we'll solve a lot of
Yeah.
things. And she really brought that home, where like, she actually won her California speed rack. She said, the year that I chose to train more women from the area of California to enter, the year I trained them all was the year I won, because I, one, was putting in practice, and two, I was just
Mhm.
much more calm about it. And I was like, that is just a great lesson, right? The year you took time out to help other people and weren't so self focused was the year that you got
Yeah.
all the rewards. So
No one has ever been pushed down for reaching a hand out and helping someone up.
100%.
And that's, I think, the basis of all great things. Teaching,
Yeah,
kind of, as we
exactly.
lend
Yeah.
our experience and wisdom to other people, it's what enables us to make that next step to grow and accept and learn more information, because we've kind of passed down our little bit of knowledge, and then we can go get some new knowledge from somebody else that may know a little bit more about than
Agreed.
us.
And our industry only grows with that information. We've seen now,
Yeah.
I feel like within the 10 years, I've now seen generations of bartenders come through the speed rack track.
It's a faster, more of a dog life
Exactly.
scale. It's like, oh, they've all grown up now. They're 32. They're
Exactly.
getting on out there.
I'm like, look at those young bucks. But it's such a, but I love seeing them all pay it forward. So we
Hmm.
just actually launched a mentorship program that we're really proud of, and it's former speed rec uh, people, but also other women in the industry who we feel had something to teach, and everyone stepped up to the plate. And then our mentees are made up of a combination of, a Speed Rack alum, but also just new women in the hospitality industry who are looking for connection. And so I think, when the world took away events from us and being able to get out there and be there in person, like everyone, I think we took a moment to figure it out. Ivy and I both, like we said, run different places. So like everyone was kind of just working on their own house for a minute. You're like, okay, hold on. Like
Hmm.
we have to figure out what's going on with the bars we're working at, the people we're dealing with day to day. And then we took some time to think about how we wanted to come back and impact our community and what we could offer. And so I feel that this month's programming and the launch of the mentorship, which has been in process for the past 2 months, has been we've been planning it actually like 4 months to roll out, getting everyone together. But the last 2 months we started with actually engaging our mentors, mentees, and it's very exciting to see that all come to fruition.
So this March, that's when this mentorship program started.
Yes, so we officially launched it with on February 26th, really, with a
Okay.
mentor mentee chat.
Got a couple days
We
in it.
exactly, we just matched all of our mentors and mentees, so they'll be announcing their matches coming up. Um,
So how many sets of mentor mentees are there? Excuse me.
87.
87?
87. It is a big group, so it's a
You
large
lose one, you
Zoom.
lose the whole thing.
I know. And it was crazy to see the overwhelming the mentors who are willing to give their time. It was incredible. And the amount of applications, we have a wait list, and a lot of the women who are in that wait list, we will just defer to the next class.
Yeah.
But we're really excited to see that there was so much, and we had some great partners who posted about it, which really helped to make sure we were getting recruiting. We had Turning Tables post, we had Brown and Balanced, we had a few organizations that made sure we want to make sure, like, specifically our program is giving preference to BIPOC self femme identifying bartenders. So we wanted to make sure we were really meeting new people, because I think that's part of it, right? Getting out of not just our core speed rack family who will see our stuff, but people who may not see what we're here as a resource. And so that we're very proud to see that, with those partners who really helped us get the word out.
That's great. And so these are running 6-month increments, is that right?
6 months, yeah. So they will
Okay.
all have their mentors through September. So very excited to see we've already just had such great engagement. And Laura Louise Green from Healthy Poor, she is working on just a lot of really wonderful programming for mentorship. I think we had a training also with her and Elephant in the Room, which are just two organizations that talk a lot about how you properly do this. I think, it was really important for us, if we were going to start a program that was going to be so personal and so involved, that we made sure there were resources to talk about how we all communicate, what would the process would be, how to make sure we're responsibly setting these relationships up, and that's just part of something that we don't think about always all the time, but I think it's really important to think about those things. And so Lauren Paler, who she has focusonhealth.org, she's also part of the speedrec team, helped us really just bring in those experts, so that way we would have a social responsibility aspect of it. And those trainings have been very well received by the mentors who want to go into it with, like, okay, what does it really mean to be a mentor? What are our core values? And we've asked everyone to sign a social contract. So there's just this point of, like, we're all getting into this with full commitment to each other and with a responsibility, and really taking it seriously, not just, yeah, 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 sure, I'm a mentor, great, I'll do a call here and there, but just really trying to set it up for the most success.
I think that's great. The one-on-one mentor-mentee, I've always been a huge proponent of taking on a mentor and taking on a mentee in every stage of your
Yep.
life, no matter what it is. You have something to offer and you have something to learn,
Oh,
no matter
100%.
where you are. And you should constantly be seeking that out in
What I
both cases because
Yeah.
they're both so rewarding.
Well, that's what we said. It has to be, it has to be a free flowing learning both ways. And actually, Lauren Paler is actually my official mentee. We actually have been in a mentorship relationship for just over a year. And she, before quarantine, everything went crazy. She actually came to my bar in New York and had dinner at the bar, and then asked me to formally be her mentor. And I've gained so much in this past year. I didn't realize it was going to be a pandemic and that like how our relationship would change, but and that she would then eventually work with us at Speed Rack. But
Yeah. And how much value she probably gave you because of the pandemic that you would not have got.
absolutely. But even that, like, I learn, I feel there's a lot of, for I think anyone in this industry, especially once you have some years behind you, you're like, okay, I'm a vet, I've been in here. If you close your mind to learning and adapting and listening, then there's no place for you. Like, then
No.
go ahead and like find a spot somewhere. But hospitality is about responding and about being current in just, and you everyone can do it. Everyone could just ask questions and be willing to be vulnerable. And I think that's a part of how we have to evolve. I think if the leaders and mentors in our industry aren't listening to the people coming up, then we're not effective leaders, teachers, mentors, and we can't then guide the ship to leave a better place for them.
Yeah, I agree. So obviously you've got a wait list going for this next
Yeah.
round, but if some of the people that are listening now are wanting to find out more information or maybe want to sign up or get on that wait list, what would be the protocol?
Sure. We'll be posting more. Follow our Instagram for Speed Rack. That'll be
Okay.
the best way. So when we're ready to take the next class, we will post on there. But right now we have a ton of information going up. Our Women's History Month programming really is looking at different buckets. Like we talk about mentorship on it. We're talking about finance and women in economics. We're talking about career change. We're talking about women's history. And so I would say that's your first deep dive into what we're doing. And you can just get mentorship by watching all of these different programmings.
Yeah.
Because we really thought about what were the factors right now. A lot of people, some of the conversations I'm super excited for coming up. One is Sip and Social, which will be at the end of the month, which is really interesting about building business through relationships. And everyone on the panel is a bartender who started something that was about giving back to their community, but it was a business to survive, to add income during this time. And I'm really inspired by their stories and how they really all thought about what their impact would be on their local communities, whether they're working with local farms or building farms or, just it's just been really inspiring to see. And then there's a lot of financial talk where we have a bunch of seminar coming up next Thursday. So if you're looking for something else to do on St. Patty's Day, a little more financially focused, so at 1 p.m. EST, we have the financial gym doing a full-on seminar about like what's better to do if you have a side hustle, start an LLC or an S corp. What's the threshold of when you should start those things? What should be for the gig economy? For us in gig economy, where you have especially right now when you like making money one night, not making it the other. What are good resources? How can you start better protecting yourself and projecting your financial future and plan a little better. Things that I don't think I think we always remember, like work at the bar, getting a lot of cash, putting your boot, going out, visit friends at bars, spending way too much of that cash at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's a little different. I don't miss the irresponsibility and the coming home with like a lot less, but I do miss that ability to just be like, you know what? I got everybody today. You know what?
Around for my friends.
Because every now and then you want to do that. And
You
it's
do,
nice.
but it is nice to think about, being a little more responsible. Like I can do that with like X% of it, but the rest of that,
So like I have like a savings account now and I have all,
yeah.
whatever. But it was more fun. No, it's
It was a more cash business back then.
it definitely was. But You said what day and time was that?
That's going to be March 17th at 1 p.m. EST.
1 p.m. Okay.
So we're very excited about that. The Financial Gym, they're great. They really have a smart way of looking at it. It's a woman-owned business, but it's just going to give us some time. And then if you're
Yeah.
interested in owning a bar and really want to talk about the real in and outs of it, on Tuesday at 1 o'clock, same time EST, my partner Ivy Mix will be in a conversation with Natalie Frihone, who is a New York based business owner, and they're going to talk about the real nitty gritty, what it means to own a bar or restaurant. And that's like, I
I will
think
be listening to
we
both
have
of
to be
those.
open. We have to be open and honest
Yeah.
about that. I think everyone has like the glittery eyes. Someone's going to offer you some points to like, do this and you're going to get underpaid. Like if you have questions, bring them. But if someone's offered you something and you have a question about it, bring it on that day, because I think the more you know is helpful.
Yeah.
And we'll see a lot of interesting opportunities I think come out after this, but we all have to go in with understanding our negotiation power and what we should be asking for. Because I think that's kind of a scary thing. You don't know what you should be asking
Yeah,
for.
and the market's going to
So
feel different. It's going to be everything will be different than what it is now. So it's hard to
100%.
even prepare. You can start to prepare, but only with the understanding that we have no idea exactly what it's going to
Precisely.
be. And that's what we're preparing for.
Yeah.
But that's all you can prepare for. So
Prepare for the
also
unknown.
in Women's Herstory Month,
Yeah.
in partnership with Branca, you guys are doing She Persisted. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
Sure. So that's basically the framework that we did for the entire theme.
Okay.
We think that She Persisted really embraces the ethos of the fact that, the pandemic has really disproportionately affected women. And those numbers and stats are out there. And, I think there was some astounding number in December of the job losses in hospitality, and it was over 50% of that were women. So looking at those numbers and thinking about it, that's what was the framework for why we chose to go into those buckets of, that throughout all of this, we will make it, but we only make it if we're all talking about things that are uncomfortable, like economics, what we're worth, career change, if that's what we want, and what the pathways are, whether we want to get into something that's adjacent to hospitality. But everyone's going to take a little stock of what's important to them, and where they want to be. And so I think it's important to give people the tools and the information.
And all this information is available at
speed-rack.com. On the website, you'll see our Women's History Month Dead Center on the website. So you can find all the information. That's everything from our Speed Rack Academies, which we're doing in partnership with Focus on Health, and all of our different chats. If you just go on the calendar, you can see every day what's happening. Tomorrow is Finance Friday, so we'll have an Instagram live chat with actually one of our awesome bartenders, Makara Gebre, based out in Denver, who is a speed racker, who's now transitioned into the handle at former bartender does finance. So she actually made a career change, and now she's sharing the love and that information and with hospitality workers.
Well, that's awesome. So there's a lot of programming. There's a ton of stuff for people to look at, participate in, learn from, and even potentially line themselves up for a mentorship or menteeship
100%.
in the future.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Why not? Do all of it. Jump on
do
in,
everything.
everyone.
So I want to ask a couple questions about what your life has been like during this pandemic.
Sure.
Can you kind of just walk through what this time last year was like going for you as we're coming upon these anniversaries of all of this, what feels like extremely recent trauma about to come back up on us again? What was it like in that beginning, and then how have you persisted this pandemic?
Absolutely. So I look at this date. I'm like, today we're chatting. It's March 11th, and I have just gotten back from Speed Rack Northeast, which was in Boston, and we did that event, and it was a full scale event. And the day we were leaving on that Monday was when they found out the giant outbreak in Cambridge, and they were like, "Oh, they're going to close down Cambridge. This is going to be crazy." And so we're flying back to New York with like very much like, what's going on? We have an event this weekend in New Orleans because we were doing back to back. So I was prepping to leave for New Orleans in 3 days' time to go there to do another event. And we had competitors driving and flying in from, all down the Southwest. And every day, everything was changing. What the restrictions were, who would be there at this point. A lot of the brands every day were saying, hey, we've been grounded by our company, but product's still there. You can still do the punches. And then every day was just like a new scenario. And our event coordinator, Becky Nadeau, was just trying to catch up and figure out what was going on. She wasn't flying down with us for that event, which was kind of rare. So she was kind of like quarterbacking from from like phones. And by the time we got down to New Orleans, it was literally shutting down around us. We had decided, we already were at the point by the time we got on the ground that there would be no audience, that would just be the competitors. We'd have everything set up. And then I think they were just about to start closing the bars. And so the day we did Speed Rack, we started it much earlier. We had to be done by 5 p.m., which is very different from what we normally do. And we did it in a local bar. We moved venues. And then, our brand supporters who were there, who had driven in with competitors, took us all out to dinner. And it was just a really surreal moment getting back on that plane and then landing back in New York and talking to our team. Luckily, the owners of the restaurants that I work with, Juan Correa and Eric Ramirez, Juan was kind of oddly in tune early with what was going on. Like, he had February 1st put out a company-wide conversation. He's like, everyone needs to get their flu shot. Like, let's encourage everyone to get their flu shot. Like, if we need to pay for it, like, something tells me we only just get like some immunity going up in this. So please
Yeah.
talk to everyone. If they want it, get it. But I'm recommending it, like, that everyone who wants it gets it. I was like, okay, I'm going to get my shot. And so we did. And, we were just starting to buy, the masks and just thinking about it because it was just this weird feeling. And he just was oddly in tune with it, just watching market trend, I guess, in a weird way. He came from
Yeah.
finance. I guess he was just kind of like, what
He's like,
happens over
oh, this
there?
is
He's
not
like,
looking good.
he's doing projections. I was like, oh man. So when I got back, I immediately came where I'm at now, which is up in the Hudson Valley. I've owned a house up here for who knew? I'm like, my husband and I were like, who knew we were going to be preppers? But we had a place. So I was like, dealing with calling the restaurant from here. But it was just so weird though that week. Everyone was just trying to like stay open, to make sure that we can keep people employed who needed employment. It was also unsure about what was going to happen with benefits, and no one knew. And it just was insane. I think those first few weeks, my crisis personality is to go into action of fix and repair. And I am a founding board member of the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation, and we as an organization just like had to kick it into gear for COVID relief. So I just, as the restaurant didn't need me as much because my job is to create cocktails, new things for them, and help them deplete the stock that we had. Like, my biggest job at that point was figuring out what we could return to distributors that we didn't need. And then that was it. But then I was like, okay, I'm just here for emotional support and help, but I'm not going to create new stuff for you. There's nothing for me to do. My head bartender has it. So I jumped, right into working with Restaurant Workers Community Foundation and making sure that, however I could be available. I jumped on like every committee that would have me that I could help
Yeah.
with.
That's great. I didn't know that. We actually were
Yeah,
able to, sorry to interrupt you, but we were able to end up
no worries.
doing some donations through a couple of
Yay!
different sales that we did. We sold a couple different shirts and things, but y'all were one of the organizations that I had picked
Yeah.
to donate those to.
It's been crazy, and the
Yeah.
restaurant, like, we've done everything. Right now we have the Racial Justice Fund that we're able to do, which we're really excited about. Our zero interest loan program for bars and restaurants who maybe didn't get enough PPP, who are really thinking about the restaurant worker. We still have our COVID-19 relief fund. But we were thrown into, from a very small, industry started hospitality to, big growth within a year. And it's been great to see how we kind of found our voice and our mission during this time. So that's where I
Mhm.
donated a ton. Like, that was just like my first crisis response. And then it was, be there for the restaurant, be there as a collaborative partner, as someone who could run ideas, the person who actually had a lot of, I'm lucky enough that because of Speed Rack, I am exposed to so many people that I know that I can ask for information from all across the
Mhm.
country, from around the world. So I was kind of aggregating key learnings and seeing what would work. And that, I think, that community driven resource, I thought how everyone was putting whatever they were doing online. Here's our playbook. Here's how we're trying to tackle this, was very heartwarming, because you saw a community say, I'm figuring this out. And if what I'm doing can help you, great. And I think that's been one of the things that I've really appreciated.
Yeah, it's what we're trying to do here. I don't know. uh, what was that? Sorry, I spaced out because I'm like in this.
It happens. Time of day, man. It was beautiful out today, and
It
I'm like, I
is.
feel like we all got a little sunburnt.
I don't ever record this early. I usually record on bar hours, but I've
Hmm.
been wanting to. I took 3 weeks off, and I was like, I really want to get back in this, and I wanted to get an episode out this week. I was like, book it whenever. I don't care. Let's get these people on and let's do a show. I miss talking with.
Right now, with all of the curfews and things, like the drinking game starts early.
Sometimes I record in the morning. I have a coffee, maybe with a smidge of Jameson in it, and at night I like to have a nice beer. But it's midday here, and it's kind of crossover. Here in a few more minutes, I can crack open a beer here after go
Yes, I love it.
from LaCroix to beer right into happy hour here.
I'm not gonna lie, I opened up the Sunset white
We'll do it
wine.
now.
Yes. Then I have a couple of samples I have to taste from the guys from Empirical. They have their
Yeah.
canned cocktails and they're lower proof, so I'm gonna jump into one of those in a little bit.
Once again, a reminder to any and all distributors and spirit makers that I accept all samples. Send them away. We love samples here.
Loving to try them.
But I like how you said that you have aggregated this network of knowledge and stuff. And that's kind of, honestly, that's what, when I started this show, it was like, man, this gives me some door to at least ask people that I would like love to know more information about and love to talk to and like aggregate their knowledge and be
Yeah.
able to talk to them and again in the future. So it's been a blessing for me to have this opportunity to be able to talk good enough that I can have this show and have people like you on.
We're social beings, especially
I know.
hospitality people, man. It's hard.
I forgot how to talk, man. The first time, I think somewhere in June, because I got COVID the weekend everything shut down.
Oh man, so you're one of the early people. It was so like none of us knew what was going on
Yeah.
then. Oh, so crazy.
So probably like June, I think, before I ever really even like left the house or did anything. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know how to talk to people. I was talking too much, or I was like mumbling.
Like, what's
And I'm
wrong
like,
with
I'm
this
so sorry. I'm
person?
so awkward. I haven't seen people in so
Well, I
long.
found like I mean, I guess that's part of it, right? So I jumped in the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation work. I jumped right into online virtual
I
work.
immediately started this podcast after that. I was like,
Exactly.
I
You're like, I
gotta talk
need
to more people.
practice. Yeah, I was also lucky enough. So March 5th, like I feel like I've had this fairy tale pandemic experience, because like things just lined up for me.
Hmm.
But March 5th, 2020, my masterclass.com with Ryan, Mr. Lion Chatiwardana, launched. And so, for a couple weeks where no one was really freaking out about COVID, like people got to see the class. Like if we launched kind of mid-pandemic, I think it would have been just the timing would have been weird. But people were starting to take our class. So during this entire time, I've been engaged with fans who have been watching the class and their feedback, and so it felt like I had, people would tag me on Instagram, and I'd have these people. It was like they were coming to my bar and I made them a drink,
Yeah.
and they were giving me that feedback and that bit that makes you happy that you made someone's day. And I was really lucky to experience that virtually, and then that led to being booked for a lot of, corporate virtual happy hours, which just kept me teaching and talking to people, and keeping that exercise, that muscle memory
Hmm.
going. It meant I had
It's
to buy
important.
mics and lights and all those things.
Yeah. It's like, hey, look at all this. Look, we're all broadcasters now. Like,
Seriously.
let me show you how to edit that there. So, yeah, I think we did it. I think we talked a lot and we
Yeah, I
learned a
think
lot
I think
about
we
each
have
other.
I
We
think we
made
have
a
a lot of
podcast.
really great stuff. I hope you have what you need. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump into what I like to call closing time lightning round,
love it.
in which I'm gonna ask you a lot of really difficult and
Great.
insane questions. That's guaranteed to
Fantastic.
have people approaching you on the streets asking you, "What?" No.
I'm good at this game. Let's bring it
Yeah.
on.
All
You
right.
can see me. I'm quick on my feet.
All right. All right. Cocktail bar, dive bar.
Dive bar.
All right. Go-to order at a cocktail bar.
Ooh. Negroni martini.
Okay. And dive bar?
Gin and soda, 2 limes.
All right. What's your top 3 favorite industry themed genre type movies?
Ooh,
Do you have any?
I would say The Thin Man because that made us all drink Nick and Nora's. God bless. um, second one would be 3.
TikTok.
I know. I'm like, what are drinking movies? It's actually kind of hard to remember them all. Oh God, what's the one where with Paul Giamatti when they all go to the wine country?
Oh, Sideways? Or
Sideways.
yeah,
Made me really want to go
that's
to
a good one.
Napa in a
I
horrible
did
way.
too. I was not old enough to at the time, but I really wanted to go anyway.
Right? And then third drinking movie, let's see, what's the ones that are really drinking movies? Bars. Yeah. Think. Oh my goodness, I'm like really blanking because I don't want to say Cocktail because actually I wasn't really a crazy fan of that
Yeah,
movie. It's just the only
that
one I
was
know
like that's
that's
the one you would always think of,
it's the only
but
one I could
like,
think of. But I'm like,
that's
but actually
okay.
I'm like, it's fine. It's not
It's fine.
really. But I'm like, what are the other ones where people are really in bars all the time that make you want to like
What
wet your
about The
whistle?
Replacements?
Oh, The
The movie with
Replacement.
Keanu Reeves when he's dating that bar owner? I really like
Yeah,
that one.
that's a good one. Or I guess wasn't there one with Patrick Swayze? I feel like. I mean
Roadhouse?
Roadhouse.
He's been in a little known movie about with a bar that you might have
It's just
heard
a
of.
totally different way, but that brings you to the honky tonk and the dive bar cinch.
All right, we'll move on. All right, Yankees or Mets?
Oh, if you asked me in '86, it'd been Mets, Yankees all the way.
All right, I'll allow it.
I
I
know.
don't
I'm
have my
looking.
Yankees jersey right behind me.
I'm
It's
looking. I
over here. You
see.
can't sit off seeing.
But it was different then. Like 80, like in the '80s, we were Mets fans, and then actually, I ended up going to college, and so did my sister and I both went to college with one of the different Willie Randolph's daughters. So we became big Yankees fans. There you go.
There
See.
you can see it. There we go.
So that was kind of where we really became big Yankees fans.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I recall the earliest memory I have was I was an early card collector in the late '80s, and I remember getting a Don Mattingly card at one point and
Oh,
just
there you go.
liking it. I don't remember because I've been obsessed with the city since as long as I can remember. The skylines, all that stuff, and all the people and the energy and all that stuff. But I don't know if it was the Yankees that came first
Yeah,
that
fair enough.
inspired that love.
I was playing
But either way, I'm a huge Yankees fan.
Yeah, I was playing catcher in softball at the time, and Gary Carter was so big. Kind of when I was in grade school
Yeah.
for that. So I don't think there were many other like catchers at the time really like promoted. So being in New York, I was like, oh well, that's cool. But yeah,
I'll do that.
Yankees.
That's fine. I'll support that. All right, we ask everybody: are you Apple or an Android?
Apple. It's by
Everybody,
marriage. I had to be an
I
Apple.
I know, and I don't know who does the booking on this show, but I told them no more Apple people.
I know
No,
I'm
it's
married to a creative director, and it was part of the social contract. I have not used a non-Apple product since we got married.
yeah.
Although then I had a Motorola Razr, but there was no iPhone yet.
Yeah, no, there wasn't. So you're fine. You're probably that's grandfathered in. I think.
Yeah.
So if you had to pick one cocktail scene outside of the U.S., where's your if you could take one
Chicago.
trip post pandemic, and it's explicitly to experience the
cocktails?
best cocktail scene.
I'm going to Chicago. I'm sitting at
right.
Julia Momos's Bar Comico.
All right. Perfect. I'll see you there.
Oh, it's so good. In New York, we'll have to catch up at Mother's Ruin because that's so. When you said dive bar versus cocktail bar, I really had to think for a minute because Mother Ruin is one of my favorite bars.
You haven't
but
been to
it's
Mother Ruin in a
it's
while.
a cocktail dive bar, really.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's
oh,
great.
Mother's Ruin is one of my favorite places. I don't know. Go there and you'll see what I mean.
All right. Well, we're all gonna go to Mother's Run as soon as this thing
Yes.
is over, and one big unemployed bartender family party if you live in New York. So if not, I'll fly you in. I don't care. All right. Well, if our listeners want to keep up with either you or Speed Rack stuff, you can follow Speed Rack on Instagram at speed_rack. On Facebook, it's just Speed Rack Info, and of course, www.speed-rack.com. Do you want to give out any Insta handles or things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm at drinks at 6, the number 6. It's came from Holly Golightly, the letter she wrote to the gentleman caller in Breakfast at Tiffany's, and then that party was like the best happy hour party ever. So at drinks at
Perfect.
6. That's
Yeah,
the movie.
that is the whole
That's the one. Breakfast at Tiffany's. There we go. That's what I meant, because like that party scene is
You're like, let me
amazing. You want to go to that
describe
house
this
party.
whole scene about a bar and drinking and a movie.
And then I'm like, oh,
All right,
that's
cool.
how it
So
goes.
people can follow you. Is that across the board your handle, or?
Yeah, at drinks at 6. They'll find me at Facebook at Lynnette Marrero Mixology. But you'll find me if you go to my website, lynnettemarrero.com. Way too many letters, but you'll find it. Google me. If you spell it wrong, it'll correct you and get you there.
Google me. You'll find it. All right. Well, once again, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Coming up, we have for our guest bartender for today's segment, we have Neal Bodenheimer, the owner of CureCo, a bar and restaurant management group in New Orleans that's comprised of acclaimed NOLA bars and restaurants Cure, Cane and Table, and Vals. He's also the co-chair of the board of directors for Tales of the Cockail. We'll be talking to him about the effect COVID had on New Orleans and Mardi Gras, about the grand initiatives Tales has started for New Orleans bartenders, which are really great, and just a wonderful, wonderful thing that's happened. And then he'll be making a cocktail for us that you will not want to miss. So stick around. I'll see you in just a second on the other side. All right, welcome back to the other side of the show. I'd like to welcome to the show today New Orleans-based bartender and restaurateur Neal Bodenheimer. He's the owner of CureCo, comprised of acclaimed NOLA bars and restaurants Cure, Cane and Table, and the recently opened Vals. He's also the co-chair of the board of directors for Tales of the Cockail, the largest cocktail convention in the world. It takes place every year in New Orleans. If you're listening to the show, you probably know what Tales of the Cockail is. We've been wanting Neal on the show for a while, and with how different Mardi Gras looked this year, and Tales launching their Mardi Gras Gives initiative, time couldn't be better. So excited to have you on the show, joining me today. Welcome to the show, man.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I know we've been trying to do this for a minute, so I appreciate you sticking with us as we've been trying to figure this thing out.
Yeah, I mean, what are we gonna do? We're at the mercy of the great and wonderful talent that exists out in the world, and we're just waiting for you guys to give us a little time to stop by and talk. And I appreciate that you were able to do that for me this week. So,
Well, talent's a strong word for some of us, but I certainly appreciate being looped in with some really talented people.
Now I won't tell you, I see talent in everything. So I'm an optimist, but it's neither here nor there. So you're from NOLA, live in NOLA. What's this background there?
So both, yeah. I was born in New Orleans and raised in New Orleans, and then I left for a long time, and then I was drawn back to New Orleans after Katrina, and I think a lot of people that were from New Orleans that had left kind of felt like if New Orleanians didn't go back to New Orleans, that there may not be another, that there may not be New Orleans again. It may not be, close to what it was before, or maybe it wouldn't get rebuilt in a great way. And so that's when I moved home, and it was probably the best decision I've ever made.
It's Katrina is obviously such an enormous catastrophe that occurred in New Orleans that had widespread ramifications in a number of things. But one of the positives, like I said, I'm an optimist, so I'm always going to look for that. One of the positives that occurred from that, at the time I was working I think I was managing a Journeys in Little Rock around that time. And I just started to notice this influx of people from New Orleans, Lake Charles, Alexandria, Lafayette, Baton Rouge. And it started to become like the majority of the people that I was seeing out and about. There was just this kind of cultural shift in just the way the rest of the South accepted in those who were displaced, and the subtle ways that they had an effect on the cuisine and the bars, just everything. They kind of had their, like, from Arkansas, born and raised, love it there. But Lurick has this beautiful culinary scene that kind of was born out of the remnants of Katrina, when a lot of those Cajun Creole folks came on up there and sat down, open spot, and we had this like Southern Creole Cajun kind of mashup thing that occurred. Man, the food was good. I'm just had a flashback to all that great food.
I think, I think that I genuinely think that we've come through, and we, hopefully are still in, depending on how people recover after the pandemic, how restaurants and bars recover. But really a high water mark for restaurants and bars in the United States. And I think that there were so many ideas that were flowing, and people were inspired by each other and by their cuisines, by their drinks, and that was happening all over the South. We are really fortunate in New Orleans to have a really long and distinct culinary heritage and drinks heritage, and we are just the keepers of the flame in this generation, and I think we're doing a pretty good job. And
Doing a damn good job of it, y'all.
Yeah, we're trying, and but there's a lot of responsibility in that, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. I really think that New Orleans is really there's always an interesting relationship between preservation and progress, and at heart, so many New Orleanians are preservationists, and you think you see that in our foodways and in our restaurants and in our drinks as well.
Yeah, that's such a great point that you bring up. A lot of us, and myself included, I'm a creative at heart, as a lot of us are in this industry. It's just bartending allows us just so many different ways to express it, that it's a beautiful career move for a lot of us. We discovered early on and have stuck with it. But that I completely forgot. I have
you're talking about you're talking about
lost my train of thought.
Creativity, and how bartenders, how bartending has kind of given us a path for a creative outlet.
Yeah, that was my intro bridge into this whole other thing that I was going to go into, but it's fine.
Well,
I digress.
We got plenty of time. We can,
we'll figure it out. I'll come back around. No,
Yeah.
I never do. It's I got to catch it in the moment or it's gone. But
yeah, I'm kind of like that as well. And honestly, as I get like older and older, I'm like, what was I thinking? I don't know. Moving on.
I have noticed it. I don't know if it's because I had COVID early on, and I had some pretty, like, right now a year ago is when I got it. Sometime in this time.
Oh God.
I was working at the bar the last 2 days we were open here.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And it was rough, but the like some long-term things occur, like shortness of breath. It lasted a couple months, but the COVID fog, like the foggy brain, and I don't know if, and this is where we don't know, is it all the isolation and the lack of like interconnectivity that we're used to, that we're not exercising and firing those neurons, and now we're like getting it all mixed up and it'll be better later? Or was COVID like actually doing something that has caused all these other crazy side effects? But
I mean, I don't think
way,
we know.
I forget shit a lot.
I don't think we know. But I will tell you that I think that the lack of socialization has affected us all, and it affects us in a lot of different ways. And it just goes to show that we really do need each other. And it is something that I've seen. We have to find a way to be kinder to each other. We have to find a way to find more things that we have in common. And but ultimately, we really need each other, and we need that interaction, and we need that community, and without it, we're all islands. And I've said this before about what we do, and I really believe that our teams, like when we make our teams, that we're better together than we are apart. And I think that applies to all of us.
100%. We were talking earlier with Lynnette about their mentor-mentee program, and just the importance of that connectedness and learning from someone and reaching down to teach others at the same time, and constantly strive. For me, that's one of the goals that I have, is to constantly have someone that I can look to for some, whatever it is, a mentor in every aspect of life, different people for different things. but constantly try to pass forward what knowledge you have if people need it. That's an important part. But so we had a little technical difficulty here. We will now pick up the show in a completely different spot. Oh, I was going to ask you, do you know Jesse Riley, or actually, well, do you know Big O's original Pops?
Yeah, I don't know him, but we've gone to get the Pops with my daughter.
That's my buddy from college. We went to Arkansas together.
Oh,
He's
did
lived in
you? Yeah.
he's lived in New Orleans for a long time now.
Yeah, so we went. We I went with my wife and my daughter. We had gone to like Crescent Park in Bywater, and we were on our way back. And we were like part of our mission. It was during the pandemic. It was to go and like go. It was like probably like a year ago, or like 11 months. We
Yeah.
went down to Bywater, then rolled back through, and you like knock on the gate, and he's back there, and he's like, "What do you want? You want a popsicle?" It's very clandestine, very clandestine popsicle operation.
I love it. Well, I'm glad that you've been there. And this is my official shout out to anyone else down in New Orleans that listens to this episode. Make sure you go check out Big O's original Pops. This is a very unpaid advertisement that I'm sticking in here.
They are really good, by the way.
They're great. They're amazing.
say.
So, all right. I had to go to a whole other thing. All right, we're gonna just jump right back in here.
Okay, let's do it.
And that's all the questions we have today.
Well, this has been great, Keith.
Yeah. What a well-ran, smooth, well-oiled machine we've got going on here.
This actually fits me perfectly.
Yeah, this is the show for you, man. You can come on anytime you want. This is what we do every time. All right, we talked about it in the intro, but you're the co-chair of the board of directors for Tales of the Cocktail. Did I say that all correctly? I'm not looking right at it.
Correct.
Tell all of the people out there that listen to this show that may or may not know what Tales of the Cocktail are. Tell us a little bit about what that is and how you guys are involved, and a little bit about this Mardi Gras Gives initiative.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can really talk about Mardi Gras Gives without talking about John Eason, who used to be with Sorayas, and now is with Tromba Tequila. John is an expat New Orleanian who lives in Texas, and he comes home every year for Mardi Gras, and he gathered a bunch of his friends that live around the area that are in the spirits business, and some people that aren't. And he said, "Look, New Orleans just got shut down for Mardi Gras, and we know how much that means to New Orleans bartenders, and we know they're hurting. What do you say we all throw in a little bit of cash to find a way to get bartenders some much needed relief right now?" And I mean, obviously, we were thrilled to hear it, and we were thrilled to help. And Tales is a worldwide festival, but New Orleans is our home, and it's near and dear to our heart, and New Orleans bartenders as well. And so it was nice. It was a really great idea by John and so many of his friends, and we were just thrilled to partner and to do it with him. And I don't know the exact number that's been distributed yet, but we've seen really great response, and I'm just tickled about it.
Yeah, no, it was that was the kind of the impetus of like, okay, I really want to get Neal on the show here. This is such a great idea, and if there's anything we can do to bring more attention to it, to maybe if for some reason a NOLA bartender hasn't heard about this that might qualify, it'd be nice to make sure that they figure that out. I don't know if it's still open or not, but
I think it is. And so it was a limit of $250. Just a few people that were involved. John's brand, Gambino's King Cake Cream, and then Don Q, Tito's, Remy Cointreau, 375 Park, Edrington, and Republic National Distributing. And it was such a cool idea. And, it was really like every now and then you get like an idea that someone comes with, and you're like, God, this is so perfect right now.
Hmm.
And it's, New Orleans has, like so many markets, we've opened for a second and closed, and people get hired and fired, and particularly in the bar business. I mean, I don't think I have to tell anybody that listens that um, bars have been particularly devastated. And I also want to say I'm really excited that as we speak, as of today, parts of the Restaurant Act have made it into law, and Lynette's partner in Speed Rack, Ivy Mix, is responsible for making sure bars were included in that via the NAICS code. And we're both involved with the Independent Restaurant Coalition. And so if you get a grant, which you should, go register for your Sam's and Dunn's number if you have a bar, and get ready. But we all have a big debt of gratitude to Ivy for getting that done.
Yeah. Speaking on that specific part, there's so much in this thing that's going to do a lot to help people, and I'm really excited about that. But that was specifically something near and dear, obviously, to a lot of our hearts, because we've seen just so much suffering, and a lot of it
Yeah.
unnecessary, which is the
Yeah.
part that really stings. So, you know, better late than never is a apt uh, idiom or whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. And it has, I mean, bartenders have been blowing in the wind for about a year now.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like,
we're
well,
coming up on, in 5 days, it's the anniversary of when I had to lay off my entire company, including myself. And it was probably the hardest day of my life. And as hard as it was for me, I know it was harder for everybody that worked for us. And and try and get everybody into unemployment before it got overrun. And these are the kind of days and the milestones that they're not good milestones, but they're the kind of
no.
things that you never forget. You never forget. I'll never forget 9/11. I'll never forget March 16th.
Yeah. It's yeah, no, I can't. I mean, I was standing there. I know the 15th I left work thinking, and I was telling him, I was like, I don't think that we're gonna last beyond this weekend, guys. Like, this is I'm
Hmm.
looking at all these other things shutting down, and I don't see how they could just be like, okay, you bars in New York City are good. Y'all stay open later.
Yeah.
And I didn't. The
Yeah.
next day I was at work at and we're, 7 o'clock, where it's like bars got to be closed by 9. Like, oh, and,
Yeah.
and then no further correspondence necessary at that. And we're like, okay, and now what? Like, what? But it's a thing, especially in the industry, if you were working that night or if you own a restaurant. I mean, in that specific date, that specific time, I don't know that I could ever forget that.
No,
And
no, I don't think, they're, I mean, they're just, you think about all the dates that you never forget where you were,
mhm.
who you were with, and this is unfortunately going to be one of those dates. And, there's just really intense trauma around it, and look, I think, one of the things, and we touched on it earlier, is just the level of mental health issues that we've seen over the past year. And, it really, we've got a lot of things as a society to figure out. We've got a lot of things as an industry to figure out. I just hope that as we start to come out of this, that people still believe that bartending and serving and cooking, that they're worthwhile professions. I think we had done such a great job of starting to make this a more sustainable professional career over the past 15, 20 years. And I just hope that we don't lose that momentum just because of a pandemic.
Yeah, no, it's really kind of turned a corner. It's almost the hospitality industry has been a somewhat desirable career field for a lot of people, with a lot of upward mobility that did not really exist 15 years ago, like you were saying. And
Yeah.
that was always a thing holding it back. Like, oh, I'm a bartender. Okay, now what? Well, bar manager? Like, well, no, I still want to like work the bar and stuff. Like, well, okay, you're there, man. You made it. But now there's so many other avenues you can go into in the industry.
Yeah, there's just been an incredible professionalization of it, and there was so much more to come, and I hope that we don't lose sight of that.
I think the activation energy reached its peak, and it's there's nothing that could slow it down at this point. We all know too much. We've seen inside the matrix, and it's a damn good career field with a lot of options, and it's great, and it's going to come back just fine. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what I
I
see.
sure hope
But
so.
we only talk
I sure hope so.
positivity on this show, though. Who knows?
Well, look, I mean, I think that today was a great step. The
It
fact
was.
that we've seen a commitment to get vaccines for all Americans will be all adult Americans will be eligible for a vaccine no later than May 1st in all states. I think the fact that the relief package went through and has been signed. I mean, these are all really great things
Mhm.
that are going to lead to a bright future. It's just been a hard year. We're coming up on this year anniversary of when the world stopped, and
And
it's
getting
it has
heavier
been
every
tough.
day.
Yeah.
It's I didn't think it was gonna. I didn't think that I was gonna think about it as much as it gets. But each day is like, okay, I remember what I was doing this day.
Hmm.
Because it's all that week is frozen in time. It's not
Yep.
like we've done anything else that notable in that old world. So we have like a larger section of that time. At least I do. Where I'm like, okay, this day I remember doing okay, and then oh yeah, now it's Thursday. All right, Thursday I was doing,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
man, this is too
It's
much.
true.
This is a lot.
It is a lot, and I love the old saying that time heals all wounds, and I think we're all pretty wounded, and I think that, but I am really optimistic about the future, and
Man,
I
it's so bright. It's I can see it. It's the
it's going to be like Dolce Vita meets the Roaring
man,
Twenties meets the '70s. Like, I'm ready.
it's a lot, and I can't wait. It's gonna be the best. So I want to try to spin this back into a positive story of the last time and the only time that I went to Mardi Gras was it was 19. Let me make sure I get it right. No, it would have had to been 1999.
Vintage Mardi
It was
Gras.
my
I like
yeah,
it.
I was a senior in high school,
There you
and
go.
our marching band was chosen to march in all of the parades.
And so, did you see a lot? Did you see a lot of the world as a high schooler?
So we had two chaperones for our small high school to go on this trip. And where I grew up was in 21 miles away from civilization in the middle of the Ouachita Mountains, about 4.5 miles off down a dirt road off of a highway that nobody knows about. So we didn't see a lot, but neither did my neighbor or my mom. And those two were our chaperones for the small world that I existed in, because we only had like a neighbor. My mom and our neighbor came to New Orleans for Mardi Gras with us. So just my whole little world just traveled on there. And it's just not the same going to Mardi Gras with your mother. I can tell you that. But
Well, it's not, but I'm sure you saw some things that really shaped your fragile mind.
it was a beautiful thing. Looking back on it, sadly, my mother passed away 10 years ago this year. It's going
I'm
to be the 10-year
sorry. I'm
anniversary of
sorry to hear
that.
that.
So I think a lot about that, which is why I had recently reflected upon this memory and talked about it. I think I was sharing it with my sister, actually, yeah, about how it was just hilarious because the picture that I have in my mind is very vivid. We were walking down the streets of all the parades, and my mom and my neighbor were like just standing in front and picking up every loose bead that fell out of all of the floats that didn't make it out to the crowd. So by the end of the parade, they had the best beads in all of New Orleans. Like my mom had just been around flashing the entire city. And I was like, "Oh my God." It was just but it was it was so fun, and it was just such a wonderful experience, and it's that alone is just looking back and like remembering my mom with like literally 1,000 beads on her neck as she's like lumbering down
It's a
wherever we were.
it's a really fun time, and it's funny because everybody has a different memory of Mardi Gras, and
Hmm.
Mardi Gras can be a lot of different things. Believe it or not, I went to Mardi Gras as a kid, and I bring my 6-year-old daughter. Well, actually, this year as she was 6, we did not bring her because there was no Mardi Gras. But when
Yeah.
she was 5 and 4 and 3, we you bring them out. The kids love Mardi Gras more than the adults, and it's just
I had a blast at like just engaging in the. I mean, we were in the parade. I was I had a trombone solo like every 2.5 minutes. So I'm like, I
yeah.
didn't get a ton of time to like appreciate everything, but
I bet you were worn out by the time you were done too.
man, but it was good. I went to I went to U of A and was in the marching band there as well, and so I had to be in good shape. It's like a sport. We had like a 2-week summer camp, where
Yeah,
8-hour days where we were marching on asphalt and
you got to
just getting our
generate a lot of
stamina up.
air.
Yeah, so I think that was just my summer or what my spring warm up before I had to go hit the big time. So it wasn't too bad. I was in good shape. Had
No,
the good
no,
lungs.
sounds it sounds fun. Even in high school though, it is like, I mean, Mardi Gras is a
That was a
magical time.
blast.
I mean, you can certainly do Mardi Gras the other way, where it is like blackout drunk, and so sometimes it just
Yeah.
kind of happens, but it's
I've been
kind of fun every way.
I've done New Year's. We rented a house in the Garden District back in 2012,
Yeah,
2011, something like that.
yeah, it's really.
Had a grand old time in the old Owens.
I'll take Mardi Gras over New Year's any day, though. I gotta say.
Yeah. Although, there's something to be said, just a nice New Year's in the Garden District at, what is it, Miss May's?
Yeah,
I think at that time it was dollar drinks. I think we rolled into town that morning, like sometime, and they were like, "You want to go to the bar?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It was like 9 in the morning. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna go to Miss May's. They're open." We're like, "What?" All right, yeah, all right. We just got here. Let's go.
yeah. There are a few bars that you can really, really get into some trouble.
It's there's nothing like
Some trouble in Miss Mays during normal times is certainly one of them.
but I appreciate those places. I appreciate them very much.
Yeah, I do too. Snake and Jake's, the Saint. Those are all on my list of bars where I can get into trouble. Brothers 3.
There's a man, there's so many places. And half of them I don't remember the names. I can tell you. I was about to say, I was like, there's this place, my favorite restaurant, actually, the best. It was like some kind of blackened catfish with this like some sort of Creole sauce. I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but the flavor, I can't ever get it out of my head. And it was like at this one block over. Like I know exactly where it's at. Next time I'm in New Orleans, I'll find it, but I can't remember until I see it, because I don't know the street name either. Look at
That's
that.
the
So,
fun.
I mean, it's
The,
gonna be a
the fun
visual
is
thing.
is the pursuit of finding it.
Yeah, the retracing the steps. It gives me, because I'm sure I could figure it out if I just scoured Google Maps, but I really just want to wait till I get back there and give me something to be like, you know what, guys, I got to go this way for a little while until I'll call you when I find it. I fully believe, though, that we'll have a Mardi Gras next year.
Oh yeah.
And I fully commit to being there. And
Well,
I
I
fully
like
commit
that.
to pretty much being everything that's everywhere at all times.
I like that can do attitude. And like, I'm
Yeah.
going to Mardi Gras in 2022.
Damn it. I'll be who's coming with me?
Yeah, exactly. That's the attitude.
All right. Well, having such a skilled bartender on our show, we thought it was necessary, mainly because every bartender that's on our show we ask to do this, but especially today, we thought we'd ask you to make a drink for us. And I'm interested in hearing what you got in mind to share with our listeners.
So, it's funny, and I don't know, I didn't intend to make this drink after we talked about it, but, after we talked about culture and preservation, but, this is an old cocktail that I really love, and it's like got that, like, it's a great format for a drink, and it's one of those cocktails that you can play around with, and it can kind of handle a lot. It's called St. Charles Punch, and it was the house cocktail of the St. Charles Hotel. First was in print in Jerry Thomas's book, so it's 1860s was first, was first in print, and then I kind of refound it a few years back, after Wondrich wrote Punch, and then I've saw it in some old New Orleans cocktail books, and St. Charles Punch to me is just this like really cool drink, and I love to think about it and kind of doing it the like old punch way and doing an Olio. So for this one, I made a lemon Olio, and so sometimes I'll put orange in my Olio too. For this, I'll take a little bit of Olio syrup and lemon juice and port and cognac. And you can do it a few different ways. Sometimes I'll put it on a cube. Sometimes I'll chill it ahead of time and just pour it out without ice. And then sometimes I do it on cracked ice. Tonight we're going to kind of do it on. I'm at my house, so we're going to do it on less than ice.
That's okay. All good with that. If you want your drink cold, is what I say. If you want your drink cold, any ice is great ice, and that's pretty much it. That's my whole.
You
That actually,
you
that's
always
kind
have
of what I
to
live by.
you always have to use
Unlike
what you
everything.
have. You always have to use what you have, and that is.
I mean, what else are you gonna do? Oh, nothing. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Well, you
Let's
could
use the
either not drink, or you can figure out a way to make a drink.
Yeah, I always opt for the latter.
So, do you want me to make this thing on air, or do you want me to, just talk about it?
What I think would be best is a nice descriptive explanation of the drink and how to prepare it, and
Sure.
something that I could easily share with people in a nice digital format.
Sure. So generally what I'll do, and it doesn't generally, it calls for lemon juice in the old books, but I always like to do, and it calls for lemon juice and sugar, but I like to do an Olio for it. So I'll peel 3 lemons and 1 orange and put them in a cup of sugar, and I always put it in a little pack. I mean, obviously you can get really really highfalutin with it and put it in a vacuum sealer, but I generally put it in a little quart container or a pint, and just find someplace warm and let it sit there. If I have the time, a day. If I don't have the time, I'll boil a little bit of water and get it going fast and let it steep. So I'll make that ahead of time and then let it cool. So basically, if I'm making a bunch, I'll make a big punch bowl worth, and I'll do like all of the Olio, and I'll do a cup of lemon juice, and then I'll kind of split the port in the cognac. You can do like 2 parts port and 1 part cognac, or you can do equal parts. It all depends on what you're in the mood for. I generally split it in half, so I'll do a 375 of cognac. You want it to be pretty fruity, and then I'll do a 370, half bottle of port. Ruby port is always great for it, but sometimes, like if I'm using kind of fruity light brandy, I'll sometimes use a tawny port too, and you get something kind of light and woody. And like during the summer, sometimes I'll say the hell with it, and I'll use like a pisco, and I'll use like a white port and do something that's like way different.
Yeah, I like that though.
And so that's how I do like my big batch. I always throw some Angostura bitters in there, just because bitters, it always makes everything taste better. But if I have a nice cube, I'll put it over a cube in a punch glass, and it's kind of how I do it in mass. But if I'm doing one, I'll kind of take my Olio syrup and do 3/4 of an ounce of that, and 3/4 of an ounce of fresh pressed lemon, and then an ounce of port and an ounce of cognac. And it's a really simple drink, but the simple drinks are always the best, and it is something you can just totally play with and have a great time with. But it always pleases, and that's what I like about it. And I also love the fact that the St. Charles Hotel was such an important landmark in New Orleans, and Henry Ramos's bars, where his last bar was right across the little side street from the hotel, and then the Imperial Cabinet was right around the corner, and it was an important piece of New Orleans history.
Is there like a historic bar tour in New Orleans? Is that a thing that exists right now?
There are. I mean, they're all of varying degrees of accuracy.
Oh yeah, okay. I guess you're definitely gonna have your bar claims and everything, but like a true like Tales of the Cocktail vetted.
The best bar tour you could ever do would be from Chris McMillan. Chris McMillan, you could go sit at his bar at Revel, and he could give you a guided tour without even walking.
Give you the tour at his bar.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a wealth of information about New Orleans cocktails.
Well, then everyone just do that.
Yeah, do that. You should definitely go see Chris and Laura in Mid-City at Revel.
There you go. Tell me more about Tales of the Cocktail. How long has it been around? What do you guys do? Why do y'all exist?
So Tails is coming up on its 20th year in 2022, and it is it's the world's preeminent cocktail convention and festival, and that's it really is saying something. And I don't think, certainly I wasn't involved with it I wasn't involved in the operation of Tales of the
You're the
Cocktail.
preservationist guy, man. You're the one that keeps the dream alive.
Well, that's the way it ended up, and I have to say, the Tunermans built something really special, and when it was when it was in trouble, um, a lot of people, myself included, believe that it could not be rebuilt, and that it was important that it survive, and so that's why I got involved. And certainly, I was hoping to find someone that would run it and keep it going and keep it in New Orleans. And when I was lucky enough to catch up with my friends the Solomons, they kind of mentioned that they were thinking about it, and then they told me what they wanted to do with it and make it into a nonprofit. And I said, I'm in. How can I help? And they said, well, you can do it with us. And I said, well, I'm happy to help, but I don't really want. That's, and they were like, no, we want you to help us do the project. And so it was I had to think about it for about a half second, and I said yes, and the rest is history. And it's just been my great honor to be a part of it, and to get to work with so many of our best and brightest in the industry, and so many people that are up and coming. And it to me is that we talked about mentorship earlier. Like it's that opportunity that I have to really try and give back to the community, and I feel a tremendous sense of gratitude. Number one, for what we've been able to accomplish over the past few years with Tails, even given the pandemic, but I am also just I feel really grateful to get to work with the community, and that we're still here and we're still in New Orleans.
Yeah, no, it's a great thing. It's a thing that everyone looks forward to every year. What was it like putting on Tales this year? Obviously, it was extremely different, but what was it like on y'all's end? And do you feel like you achieved what you were going for? Obviously, it wasn't even close to the same thing, but what did it feel like?
Look, it's interesting because, really, Caroline Rosen and Eileen Wayner really dug in with the team, and they said, hey, we've got to save the organization. We produce almost all of our revenue 6 days in July, and that we didn't have those 6 days to do it. So, like every business, we had to adapt, and we're just a not-for-profit business, but we're still a business. And so they dug in, and they reforecasted it, and they found some ideas, and we tried to look forward to the summer. And at that point, no one really knew whether the summer would be open, would be closed, but I think most people in their heart kind of felt like it wasn't going to happen. So we started working on a new plan for the fall and going digital and really trying to get out into the world. And we had people from 96 different countries tune in to the education for Tales this year and to the programming. And
That's awesome.
That to me is we look. I don't think you could talk to anybody over the past year, and if you haven't found a silver lining in this, you're not looking. And our silver lining, particularly for Tales, was that we were able to really increase our reach and to really engage a bunch of people that really wanted to be involved in Tales but couldn't necessarily get on a plane and come to New Orleans.
Yeah.
And then number one, it was a chance to take a community that had been so affected and to tie us together and to celebrate each other, and even though we couldn't hug, it was like a digital hug, and it was a way for us to kind of talk about our solidarity and just say hey, I think we're going to make this. Let's just keep at it.
Yeah, you touched on the connectivity. Damn it, I'm sorry, I I had a whole thought, and my mind went completely blank right as I was about to start talking. I am
So
so sorry.
it's all
This
good.
is like I'm having a particularly bad case of this today. So, oh, maybe. Oh, I've been going to bed at like 10. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I've been going to bed. I'm going to bed early too, so I'm like sitting here, like drinking a glass of wine,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, maybe I've dulled it a little bit too much tonight. Dulled the
Oh, I think
instrument.
we're doing just fine. So I partake in marijuana
Mhm.
from times to times,
Yeah.
and today is one of those times, like yesterday and tomorrow. So
uh
I I have a CBD joint that I have rolled for when I want to like calm my anxiety, but
huh.
need to have my mental acuity.
Yeah, sure.
And I smoked the other one
Uh huh.
about an hour about an hour before we went on. So that's why I'm like, man, why am I just a little bit off like right now? I keep forgetting shit.
Well,
Anyways, I'm gonna
it's
cut all of that
yeah, it's an
because
odd look. It's an odd time, and that's like I'm so glad to see so many people using THC and CBD right now. It's really important.
for insomnia, I mean, it's helped. I have a regular bedtime now.
Yeah.
I have chronic pain. It helps that. Since I get to smoke all day now,
Hmm.
I take Advil once a week instead of 2 or 3 times a day.
That's great. It's really great. I've got a friend, one of my best friends, has seizures, and it's really like the only thing that keeps him out of seizure. So I'm a big proponent. I'm not a big user. It doesn't like particularly
I
agree with
never
me,
have been,
but I am like
but
I'm an enthusiastic proponent.
so earlier today was the first time I tried the CBD for my anxiety because I always get anxiety right up until the point in which I do anything. If
Mhm.
I know something is going to occur, then I have very laser focus on stuff. So
Yeah.
I just think so I have to try to disconnect myself
Yeah.
from it before it happens. Because as soon as something starts, then I'm like, okay, fine, it's good. But that first like 45 seconds of my show when I start every time, I'm like trying to like fight back the nervous shakes, which are so unnecessary because in 45 seconds I'm going to be just fine.
I
But I start every show off with like
I struggle with public speaking. I'm
yeah.
I really struggle with it. I've actually been forced to do it more through Tails, and it's been a challenge for me that I've had to like really try and fight through. And there I am so glad that there are so many people in this world that are really good at it, and particularly in the bar and restaurant world that thrive on
Yeah.
it, because that is not me.
And that's what's so fun. Like I've been a performer. I've been on all the stages that I mean, I played in front of. I was in the Cotton Bowl when Arkansas beat Texas's ass in
Oh,
2000, the very first
oh,
game of the millennia. I was
oh.
on the field in front of 80,000 people, playing my instrument just fine, doing whatever.
I guess we didn't talk about the fact that I went to UT.
What? I thought you were from Louisiana State or something.
I am. I am. And the double whammy is I went to Texas.
Oh man. That's so bad. All right. Well, it was great talking to you.
Look, this has been a great interview, and
So were you at that game?
I think I was. I think I was at a
So, well,
game.
you got to watch me play. How was I?
I think you were great. I remember it crisply.
Oh my God. Thank you
I
so
remember
much.
all the Texas games really well. I swear.
So the only bad memory I have from going into Texas and doing that whole thing where we won 27-6 and y'all had what, negative 27 yards rushing or something like that in the game. It was
I
crazy.
mean, I
Anyway,
don't think anybody was counting.
the I was every single one of them.
It's counting the
Like,
whole
well,
thing.
how many do I subtract for that one? That's a good one. The bad thing is I had this CD collection, man. It was massive.
Mhm.
I'd got a CD burner the summer after. Remember the very first CD burners that came out in
Mhm.
'99, the 1X CD burners. So
Yeah.
however long it was, that's how long it took to
Yeah,
burn.
it was. Yeah, those were slow. I remember those.
They were great, but I had one, so I had all of these, custom discs and things, but also had all of my old performances, and I was in a couple bands, and I had a couple other things. And I had all these like original recordings, only copy recordings that were in these CDs that I had in that book. And that book got stolen out of our bus. I parked at the hotel, and that's my only negative memory about that. But it
Well,
still Like it was like there was
It
so
may have been a
many things
Texas
that no
fan.
one would ever appreciate in there but
Yeah.
me. People I know, but that guy, whoever took it, is like, what?
You're
He was
just
so upset, and I'm
wait,
so
hold on.
upset
Look
about
at this
that.
giant CD book I took out of the Arkansas band.
You'll never believe it. I don't even know what this is. A bunch of white CDs with Sharpies on them. Throw it out. You know what? I think we did a podcast.
Yeah.
I think so. I think
Okay.
I have, amongst all the things that we talked about,
Okay.
with some clever editing and a heavy heart.
Yeah.
This is ceremoniously how I end every episode, with a declaration that a podcast has been achieved.
Yeah.
I never know when that moment's going to be, but it's happened,
Well, good.
and I'm excited about
Good.
it.
Well, certainly have enjoyed talking with you.
So one thing I do once the podcast isn't completed, then I have to do what I do to close every show. I hop on Service Bar, let you get on point, close the show out however you want. It's your voice, your time, whatever you want to put out into the world. This is your time to do it.
That's pretty heavy, man.
This is how I heavily close every show.
It's I think I want to put some positivity into the world, and I'm thinking about what we talked about earlier, and the fact that we're coming up on a year since a really devastating a really devastating year, and I just am starting to feel really optimistic about where we're going as a world. And it doesn't mean that things are perfect, and it doesn't mean that we don't have a lot of stuff to fix. But I'm just starting to feel really grateful that I know that pretty soon I'm going to get to see so many of my friends around the country and around the world, and that we're getting near. And I've been vaccinated twice now, and I've had both of my shots, and I just start to see, I'm seeing what the world looks like when you get back out into it, and it's a beautiful place. And I'm just so optimistic about what's to come, and I just hope that everybody can get to that place soon, so that we can get back to, we're not getting back to life as it was. We're about to open up a new chapter, and I think it's going to be a really great one. And I just wanted to put that out into the universe.
Perfect. Love it. Positivity, optimism. These are the words of 2021.
Yep.
And I'm very optimistic about that. And I look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you too. Mardi Gras 2022.
Hell yeah. All right. So if our listeners want to keep up with you or any of your bars or restaurants, of which there are many, and organizations and whatnot, what pertinent handles would you like to distribute out to our listeners?
So, I mean, probably the most direct way is, God, what is my Instagram handle? I don't even know it. That's how bad I am at this stuff.
Solid. Follow him.
Oh, hold on. I'll tell you. My Instagram handle is at Neal Bodie, NealBodie, because no one wants to spell Bodenheimer, I can assure you. And then we have at CureNola, at Cane and Table, at Vals Nola, and then we've got Dauphines DC. We actually have a new little bar coming up in the French Quarter that's going to be called Pechos, and so we actually just are working on this project in Antoine Amedy Pechos residence. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool little bar in the French Quarter. And I don't know.
One of my top 2 favorite bitters.
Yeah, exactly. It's the most important ingredient in all of New Orleans cocktails.
Yeah.
So that's how you find us. We're down here. We're down here.
Yeah. Also, Tales of the Cocktail. You can find out more information about that at talesofthecocktail.org, or on IG at tales_of_the_cocktail, and on Twitter at TOTC. Of course, you can follow me.
I'm so glad you know all that.
On Twitter at Keith Carter 1981, on Instagram at Keith A. Carter. and follow The Unemployed Bartender everywhere on all platforms at all times. I don't even care if we're not on that platform. Find us and follow us on it. Check out more of our episodes of your favorite podcast streaming platform. Just search for The Unemployed Bartender Podcast and check out the website at www.theubpodcast.com. We are also on Patreon now. So if you're interested in supporting an unemployed bartender, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/theubpodcast. We've got a lot of exclusive content, perks like merch discounts, of which we do have wonderful merch on our website, cocktail recipes, all that jazz, private one-on-one conversations with me. Need I say more? So anyway, this has been another episode of The Unemployed Bartender with me, your host, Keith Carter. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon, and I'll see y'all at the bar.